Hi, everybody. Sorry. Hi, everybody. This is day 1462, and we're at 1,462 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss, premeditated. You can call it a code red because it was internal. If you're um, been keeping up with all of this, you absolutely know it's an internal, but you also know that Richard's case is international. That's why he had a Interpol yellow notice. They were required by law to do that, right? Because you're talking about the border right there between El Paso and Juarez, Mexico. And today you had arrests being made or announced, um, and so we're going to talk about that with Jonathan Ambriz, everything we found out about that, the media deception, the continuous and severe media deception all the time to interfere in politics, drive the narrative in our country, and protect the criminals, the criminal network of liars, just liars and thieves, just thieves and liars. And of course, St. Augustine, one of my great heroes, um, said, a land without justice is just a band of robbers, right? A band of robbers, a criminal syndicate, I would say a criminal network. That's what we get when we do not hold anyone accountable, when we don't have um, the foundation of a country being based on laws and morality. And those laws and that morality comes from God, comes from uh, a triune God. Okay, it's very important if you haven't studied triune God, what that means. Um, and so, that's why we are who we are in this family, because we believe on a basis of God's law for all of life, in order to have prosperity, in order to have civility, in order to view people as human beings, not to be sold, not to be abused, not to be exploited. And so here we are. Here we are. Richard was right all along. Richard was reporting the abuse and the neglect and the criminal network. And, um, you know, it was for a time such as this. Um, and, people let the breach in security happen. The leadership on Fort Bliss let the breach in security happen. They absolutely let the criminal network happen. And we need to hold those people accountable because Richard was brutally murdered. It was a planned murder, okay? We know that it was a planned murder. This is not anything outrageous. We've been saying it for a long time now because we've been laying down the whole framework of, make sure that I'm on. Thank you, everyone. Trying not to come on so late. We still have a lot to do tonight, but I wanted to make sure that I came on. But we've been laying the the groundwork for the continuous and severe retaliation that Richard went through when he became a whistleblower. That the whistleblowing started before the Walmart mass shooting of August 3rd, 2019. That's why I say that date all the time, which happens to be Dallas Hart's birthday. I don't believe in coincidences. But, before that terrible day, Richard was whistleblowing. And we know that for some reason Nadal Baim, right? Now you can read through the lines, um, was, engaged in his Western Frontier trading company, providing bids to provide ammunition to, and many other supplies to government agencies. Specifically, what we posted up, the El Paso Police Department for $3 million worth of ammunition. Now, did he win the bid? No, but he was bidding for that he could provide $3 million worth of ammunition to the El Paso Police Department. And for some reason, he did not want, because of his connections, of course, he did not want people to look at a flyer of Richard. He walked into a Dollar General. He told the Dollar General cashier that he was FBI and that she needed to take down the flyers of Richard because the search was over. The search was over. This is what he meant. When you tell someone, when you order someone by using your own authority, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm just some guy off the street. No, he's saying he's FBI and he has secret information, and that the search was over, that the FBI found Richard and she can take down the flyers, and and that she needed to be quiet about what he was going to tell her, and that what he was telling her. Now, so why is this man that is connected, because he's the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado and the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, and also connected to the supervisory director for the FBI there in El Paso, Jesus Nieto Jr., why is he selling for $3 million ammunition to the El Paso Police Department, along with connections with the FBI and with the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, and has a record for terroristic threats? Why is that all going on when his son-in-law is G3, right? Top secret clearance, knows what's going on, right? And then he is absolutely providing equipment and ammunition, crossing the paths of Jules Tuganon Chan, and who else? And who else? And we're laying down the groundwork for why there was, and we know through Brigadier General David Stewart, we know through Dirty Agent Marlon Soto, that there were audits, and they were upset about the audits on Fort Bliss for the weapons, for the arms, okay, that was going on. So put two and two and two together, right? And then you get the Walmart mass shooting. And I'm not, this all has to be investigated. We've been investigating. We've been made the investigators. We've turned all of this in. And now we have active and ongoing state and federal investigations into all of this. So it is absolutely in the law enforcement community, whether they are, for you or against you or whatever, it is in the agencies. This information we have submitted is there. What they do with it, They have to decide now to do their duty or to commit crimes by obstructing justice. Either carry out the justice that they have taken an oath of office to do, or obstruct justice. This is the decisions that are being made all behind the scenes. We've got all of these reports now. We have gotten the evidence now. What are we going to decide to do? So we've been laying out that framework. We absolutely know that there was audits going on. We absolutely know that Richard was whistleblowing to Washington, D.C., that he was whistleblowing to FBI Houston, that he was whistleblowing to the IG. The IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. I just looked it up. It was October 18th that we received that information, October 18th of 2020, that there were IG all over the barracks because of Halliday through that witness testimony, because we have mountains of evidence, and we have laid out the framework that Richard was whistleblowing to CPS, to, of course, the dirty CID, and that he was being retaliated against, set up, retaliated continuously and severely for being a whistleblower. And that when all of the retaliation did not work, that Richard has a family that he can count on and come home to. All that retaliation, he has, a moral basis that is solid. That when, it might make him cry. It might upset him what they're doing to him. But he had answers for his faith, you see. And when that retaliation didn't work, that when the crying, watching Glendon Oakley Jr. and having the unreleased video of Richard very upset, like in Glendon Oakley Jr.'s video. I mean, the spirit was the same. Absolutely the same. It was two young, beautiful men that were reporting the truth, that were being severely retaliated against, bullied, harassed by people that could make a difference on the good side, but they were up to no good. And I would say even these, and it's coming out every day in Washington at a micro level, it's coming out. Oh yeah, how many agents did you have there to bully, to put out these false narratives, to intimidate, to threaten, to that they spend our taxpayers' money hiring bullies, cyber bullies, just absolutely despicable people to say the worst sexual cult. I mean, it always like this for us anyway. It was very sexual. And, to intimidate, to stop, to just like, oh my gosh, that's so distasteful. I don't want anything to do with it, right? And then another group of people to mislead us, to misdirection us, like Danae Katzen. Then another group to absolutely try to befriend or, try to be like Job's friends. They're friends and they're saying, Oh, you'll never be able to do it. These people are so corrupt. They'll never, you'll never be able to get through. You just, whatever. Just say your prayer. Put it all in God's hands. Put it all in God's. Yes, we put it all in God's hands. But God gives us a man, orders, marching orders to establish justice on earth as it is in heaven. To establish justice, to not let these evildoers get away with murder, with constant and severe retaliation against people that are trying to do the right thing, whistleblowers. To not let the media get away with being a false witness, hypnotizing the public who depend on them for to get some news, to get accurate and trusted news. And yet they lie and say it's accurate and trusted when it is not. It's deceptive. And what they did to Richard was to deceive the public about the character of our son. To deceive the public about who he was in this, that he was a whistleblower, that they tried to constantly and severely, and I'm talking about Major General Clem Coward, I'm talking about Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick, I'm talking about Captain Park, I'm talking about SFC Arona, I'm talking about First Sergeant Ruggiero, I'm talking about PAO Ali Payne, I'm talking about the generals that severely and continuously retaliated against a whistleblower to silence him. And when he could be silenced by their bullying, by their abuse of power, by their weaponization of our system against a whistleblower, when it didn't work, their setups, their smear campaign, then they organized and orchestrated his murder. And on the day that he was murdered, his 24-hour whistleblower, because they have to follow the law, right? He's a whistleblower. He was calling Washington, D.C., he was calling the AIG, he was calling the CPS, he was calling the CID, he was calling FBI Houston. He called 911. They had to provide him, just like they have to provide President Trump with protection. They had to provide Richard with protection, whistleblower protection. That's why he was under 24-hour security, whistleblower security, protection. And yet, just like what they did at a macro level with President Trump, to bring in people that are not suitable to protect him, to cut the numbers of people that is needed to protect him, to not do their job properly. Like I said, they weren't trained properly. And we're getting in that they were from, DEA, and now they're saying DHS. And we look at FBI Ray, who is saying that, his meetings lately with Biden were just fine. What are you talking about? You're supposed to protect. You're supposed to, it's like me being a teacher, and I'm looking at Patrick Crucius, and I'm trained to assess the needs of children, the needs of individuals, to best devise the scope and sequence, the method of education to get points across. And I took one look at him, and I took another look at him, and I took another look at him. Then I did some research, and then I said, yes, he has a severe mental health condition. And absolutely we did get a confirmation that that included autism. I'm taking one look at Crooks. Take another look at Crooks. What's going on with him? A 20-year-old with 3 overseas encrypted bank accounts that's training with weapons at the training ground where the DHS trains. Allowed to wander the fairgrounds and the grounds of this rally with Trump, fly his drone, crawl up a building with a weapon, allowed to do that. For Ray to say that, this congressional hearing about Ray, he needs to be fired. He needs to resign. He is absolutely not qualified to be the FBI director. Absolutely not qualified. And it is a deception of the media to allow Christopher Wray to hold that position. Just like it's a deception of the media to allow Biden to hold that position. And to rally a coup. Because to me, in my opinion, that's what this all has been. And, absolutely, the media contributed, participated, and now we know with Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, and I just want to let you know this, he has conflicts of interest. And he was up to no good to affect the election of Yvonne Rosales. If he's going to do that, and he did not report properly on the Walmart mass shooting, which was not reported on properly by him, and he is going to cooperate and collude with the real Femme El Paso. And commit crimes. This is a deception. This is, and they get taxpayers, we're taxpayers funding or benefits, or they don't have to pay the taxes. It is so disgusting. But we absolutely have laid down the groundwork that Richard was reporting crimes, serious crimes, crimes against children. We know that there were audits with the weapons, so he was reporting criminal trafficking. Okay? Because drugs are involved, child pornography is involved, child sexual abuse is involved. We're talking about the illegal weapon. Who does that remind you of? It all reminds you of Leilani Hart's affidavit. That's what it reminds you of. If you want to know what Richard was reporting on, just read Leilani Hart's criminal affidavit that she had notarized, and that it was referred to the FBI. That's Christopher Wray. It was accepted. We have the FBI case number for it. Why? Because she had unauthorized access to the security community. She received, because, you know, if you put in a complaint, you don't get the number. But she had access. She was bragging that she was running the CID Fort Bliss office. She had unauthorized access to the security world. It's no wonder that Jules Tuganon Chan ran to her group with Bob Moore in it that was impersonating our family, harassing our family, trying to intimidate, trying to intercept information from El Paso that, might not have known about all the impersonating going on. It's no wonder she had unauthorized access to the security community. And therefore, she had access to her own referred to FBI complaint, which, being referred to through the Fort Bliss CID office is strange. She should have went to, Eddie Nieto, the supervisory director. Maybe she could have gone to Nadal Baim, right? But she didn't. She went through her relative, Tavita Nusa, who she was, had a sexual relationship with. And that's illicit because they're both married. So no respect for the most, it should be the most protected relationship, which is marriage, for society to prosper. But she, used whatever she had to weaponize herself and emotions, and to betray herself, betray her family, to get unauthorized access to the intelligence community. And that's how she got the numbers. And she bragged about it. And she showed them. She gave them out. And that's how we, through the good people of El Paso, received the numbers. And having those numbers, just like having the ownership of FitFam El Paso LLC with the DBS, the assumed names, is proof of their criminal activity. That's what that is. That's evidence. It's called hard evidence. And we have lots of hard evidence. And Bob Moore says, I don't have hard evidence. And we have hard evidence, Bob Moore. And one of those hard evidence is your lack of honest journalism. That discredits you and proves you to be disgraceful and disgusting. Because today we had arrests because of the human trafficking, the cartel involved, And we were told over and over and over again with misinformation that the cartel were not involved in Richard's case. And that's not true. The cartel is involved. And today there were announcements of arrests and admitting to the criminal activities that Richard years ago was reporting. How many children, how many humans, how many people have been hurt because of this cover-up? And now, and I'm hoping, and I'm been told, and I'm, that I've been told because of the ongoing and active, this is what I've been told, ongoing and active state and federal investigations from several agencies that they are investigating. We've got confirmation they are investigating. We got confirmation yesterday that they're investigating Jules Tuganon Chan. We know that they're investigating Bob Moore. So we've been told. And I think as these arrests are made, as these investigations are moving forward, and I think because of this being an election, and, because to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of this action is genuine. It's been driven. It's like what Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe says you have to do, right? Because he's not genuine. He had to be driven to even meet with us, even in the dog and pony show. They didn't want that dog and pony show, That was only organized for November of 2020. But because of the hard evidence that we were receiving and turning in, they had to do something. They had to be driven to do something. Even if it was out of uniform, even if it was out without an operational order. And we haven't stopped. And that's why these arrests, because, the border is a very big issue in this election, and it's all about this election because it's all about the control, of these contracts and the money of the United States, the wealth of the United States, that is dwindling. And the control of that thievery with the trillions of dollars that we have in debt, there should not be one poor person on the road. The roads should be like silver and gold. The infrastructure when it comes to our rails should be top-notch monorails, maybe even floating. We should have flying cars and only your dreams. Only the lack of your imagination can describe what could be for these trillions and trillions of dollars that we have in debt, that the people of the United States could have benefited from if it was not for this illegal criminal sex cult thievery. And absolutely pedophilia. Instead of benefiting us, it's been destroying land and buildings, who knows what beautiful buildings they've destroyed with all their bombs and all of this, misleading us to believe it was for our safety. I mean, the the absolute lies surrounding Richard's case has opened our eyes, our family's eyes, to the absolute level of deception in so many things that we thought were real and are not real. And some people listening will not believe will not believe that they could be so such liars about so many different things. But the good news is people are getting it and they are driving them to do their duty. And that's why you saw today, because I don't know if it's genuine or driven. You can tell me. Were these arrests of the Mr. Lopez from the Sinaloa cartel, was that driven or was that genuine? Is it genuine care for the border? Or is it because there's an election that's coming up and the border is such a mess? And of course, it's for Miss Harris, right? This is a real bad point. I mean, she has a lot of bad points, but for her, and they're going to try to prop her up. When she is just one big ball of deception. One big ball of deception. That's it. A walking deception. So, I'm absolute. There is frustration in all of this because there's emotions. But don't get me wrong. I'm very if they were driven to make these arrests, I'm very happy. It would be nice if they did it because they loved God and they loved our people and they loved our children and they loved justice and they wanted to do the right thing and their duty and all of that. I mean, that would be just so wonderful, right? And it would put a skip in our walk, and we would have a happiness. We would have a happiness knowing that our law enforcement, um, there was truly benevolent people. But I will take the driven. Or I don't want to be caught up in what's coming. And that is the murder case, the capital murder case of Richard. I think all of it coming out of all the criminal trafficking going on at the border. And I would say how the LDS has been silent through all of this. When so many of their members are involved in up to no good. Yeah. And it's not about red or blue. It's about pure greed that this criminal network sold their soul for, right? They just, and of course made deals with across the border with the cartel. And I'm not going to pretend to understand the cartel and what's going on there, because I know that these different cartel people are, there's a war raging and so many are being brutally killed. And, um, I'm hearing a lot of reports from Mexico. I do know this. Richard's whistleblower, he was, instead of protected, he, by his leadership, participated in the continuous and severe retaliation against him to silence him. All kinds of methods, even framing him. And when that didn't work, his security detail failed to show up for duty, and he was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss, under DES Thomas Kane. Under that leadership, the security was breached, video was tampered with, criminals were given unjust protection, and Richard was brutally murdered, dismembered, and his remains were in different locations. They didn't contact the family. They needed time for this cover-up. They never contacted us. We finally contacted them. They threw us out. We resorted to social media. They brought us back in to control the narrative, to mislead us, to misdirect us, to con us, to harass us, to intimidate us, to threaten us, to silence us. And we did what they told us to do, because they make mistakes, and we kept on investigating, keeping our hearts on what we knew was right. And we received then, because they were driven by the overwhelming evidence, and also because they have Richard's remains. They have more evidence than we do. They have Richard's remains. And they were absolutely obligated then to give us the declaration of death, which is them admitting, and in the paperwork, Richard died on Fort Bliss. He was murdered on Fort Bliss, and all the other evidence that they have, that they know, corroborates that Richard was premeditatedly murdered, code red, after being severely and continuously retaliated against. And this is all unacceptable. They need to give us our son's remains, and they need to be held accountable for this humongous, disgusting, disgraceful betrayal and brutal murder of our son. And every night, we are going to let people know. And we're doing other things too behind the scenes. And as this comes up, the betrayal of President Trump at the Butler, PA rally, that was absolutely a betrayal of the Secret Service. And Cheadle was driven, Miss Cheadle, the Secret Service director, was driven to resign. And Christopher Wray needs to be driven to resign. And they did that to Biden because the money wasn't coming in. So he was driven to leave the race. And now, which is just to me a coup in that respect. Because they knew a long time ago. And they needed to do it right. When this all came out, they needed to put in the 25th Amendment. They needed to hold a hearing. That's not drive, we have a system and we need to do it properly. It's cutting corners and acting criminally and bending the law that has gotten us in this mess. So, but we have faith in it. However it's going to work, however God makes it work, because he knows the hearts and minds of the people and the criminals. And he's going to make it work. And it was such a blessing that we got that declaration of death. And now we're in the time of accountability. And with more and more news coming up, we see the deception of the media. And the deception in the media when it comes to Jonathan Ambriz. Let's talk about him. He's a somebody, y'all. He's a somebody. He has cybersecurity experience. He has West Point experience. He has LLC business experience. He's a somebody. He has Fort Bliss experience. He has veterans disability experience. And what was Jules Tugadon Chan trying to do with putting forth a smear campaign or trying to frame a false narrative, a false reality around Jonathan, Caleb, Ambriz, and Danae Katz and Gonzalez Ambriz? They're trying to frame this, and then we have to try to figure out what reality is. And Jules having access to all kinds of security and secret information absolutely knows, and to Fort Bliss, right, has access to human resources, has access, and can't give out the true nature of who, or at least, somewhat of an attempt of the true nature of who Jonathan Ambriz is and how that connects to Richard's case, and how Danae connects to Richard's case, and how they connect to the Walmart mass shooting. How they connect to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. You see, this is a deception of the media, even the social media. It's been a deception. So I don't know what these arrests and this new announcements today coming out of New Mexico and El Paso about the criminal trafficking on the border. But I welcome it. I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful for the state and federal investigations that are ongoing and active against so many. We put in so many, okay? Bill Hicks, I'm expecting his arrest any day. I'm praying every day, please, Lord. Is today the day? Is today the day that I be praising you today for arresting Bill Hicks, the usurper of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office? Because I'm praying every day for that. It's so important in our son's case. It's not all important, but it's so important. And I'm praying all the time for Yvonne Rosales. All the time. To put all her feelings aside and do just what's right. Do what's right. Because we don't understand the blessings that God has in store for us when we do what is right. We don't understand it. All we see is the risk of our own sins. We don't see the blessing God has in store for us. And so we have to step out in faith. And I've said this over and over again. When Jesus wants to cuss us out, he says, "Ye of little faith." Ye of little faith. You don't understand the magnitude of good that I am. And what I have in store for those who love me and love my commandments. And this is absolutely every day how we get up in the morning and we're like, okay, we don't know what's in store, but we believe it's good and we're going to do what's right. And we want our sons remain. We're praying for our sons' remains. That there are some remains left that we can have. So there's a lot going on there in El Paso and the surrounding areas, and we appreciate your prayers. And this was such great news today. And I don't know why when I get this great news, it seems to play with my emotions. Like I don't want to get too hopeful, right? I don't want to get too hopeful. I just want to keep focused because I do not want to let down our mission for a moment. And that is to establish justice, to get accountability, and to get Richard's remains. So, and so that's probably why when I get this good news that these people, are admitting to the community there in El Paso and in New Mexico, Texas, New Mexico, and of course into Juarez, Mexico, that there is a problem and they are making arrests. That is huge news, and really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And we absolutely ask that you do not stop sending us information. Please send us all the information right now. It's like high season for getting accountability. Um, so all that reminders, all these reminders, I get um, people sending me old information from our website and from information that we sent out years ago that they're reminding us to, because they're putting together the dots. And we really appreciate that help. We really appreciate all the help that we can get. And we discern through it, because we've been so misled so many times. But we go through it and we pretty much um, can quickly make a pretty good assessment. So thank you so much. God bless you, and we will be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anicia, um, for coming on, and thank you, Patty Joe. Oh, I love you, Patty. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your prayers. Um, and we're going to move forward. God bless you. Bye bye.